Alright everyone, it's time for Vermont Issues episode 58. The semi-annual Vermont teachers strike is looming. I believe it's up in Burlington. They can't agree on, budget or new textbooks, computers, projectors, getting reimbursed for gas and mileage, or anything else under the sun. Basically, anytime there's a little problem in Vermont with the educational structure of some municipality, the teachers say, well, we'll go on strike. We won't show up for class. We're going to go picket outside the school and say, support your teachers. We already support you. You're already paid far more than teachers in many parts of the country. You already get, you have several extra months off a year. You get a good salary. You get your health care. You get reimbursements and subsidies. And by the way, this is something that some of you, if you've been just in the state of Vermont, you probably don't realize this. You live in a state that's friendly and largely absent violent crime. You work in schools that are friendly, clean, and largely absent of violent crime. These are not inner-city schools where you have to worry about some student brought a pencil shiv in to shove into your kidney in the morning because they just fucking hate you. You don't have to worry about that sort of thing generally in the state of Vermont. And you have the audacity to say, support your teachers, we're so intrinsic, we love educating your kids. And then you're like, oh, but sorry kids, we're going to abandon you for a couple weeks. Now some students will look at that and say, oh yay, vacation, I don't have to go to school because the teachers are on strike. Man, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to go play video games and sleep late. Then there are others. I don't know if you've quite thought of this. You do realize that there are kids in this state that are quite poor because we're a socialist state, largely. So when they go in for their breakfast and lunch, which we helpfully subsidize, or we just say, okay, you get free lunch because you're really poor, that might be the only fucking good meal they get in the day. Do you want them to fall behind and be fucking malnourished? Do you want them to fall behind on their coursework so they're less competitive? What about some senior? Let's say they're doing everything they're supposed to do. We're talking NHS, they joined Key Club, they joined Rotary, they joined everything else, several sports. They just, their schedule's constantly full with everything they could do. They got like a 4.0 GPA. They're going to graduate valedictorian. Whoops, but they're going to have to miss 2 or 3 weeks of class because their teachers are on strike. What if their family's not rich enough to say, okay, well, we'll hire a tutor while these fucking teachers are whining or something? It doesn't make any sense. You say support your teachers, support your schools. Oh, we're important for your kids, and yet you're absent their lives for the duration of your strike, letting them fall behind. By the way, I'm well aware, as an aside here, I'm well aware that there's a problem with administration and bureaucracy within schools too. It's not just like, oh, the teachers are being whiny and spoiled. Okay, so yeah, sometimes, many times. It's not just them, it's the administrative structure of these schools too. I can remember when I was in Mill River. That was my high school. And I did very well academically there, behaviorally better than in elementary school, but not perfect, okay. I think there was one time, they kicked me out of the library for a couple of weeks once for making memes. Like, I was making cartoons, and they were slightly inappropriate, so the librarian, the old librarian didn't care. The new librarian was constantly, like, harassing people. Like, oh, you printed out too many pages. You made this cartoon is kind of inappropriate. You're a junior at the time. You're getting up there in age. You're not some little kid, but it's still a problem. We're kicking you out of the library for 2 weeks. I had to go to the office. It was like, fuck you. I'm here to learn. Look, I've already done I went to my study hall. I got all of my homework done for my first 4 periods already. Can't you just leave me alone for 10 minutes? But I can remember when I was a junior, the old principal was leaving, I believe retiring. And so they had to find a new one. And the original goal was for them to very quickly get a principal in there by just having the administrative council members be the ones doing the selecting, which was a deviation from the past. And at the meeting, the school meeting, before that, I was there. I gave a speech in favor of having a student on the council. Others did. Some teachers spoke. They wanted somebody on the council. And several other individuals. And we ended up getting our way. In fact, I was the one chosen for that council, actually. The student council apparently liked my speaking skills, which is funny because I was totally shy and awkward, had no public speaking experience. Like, this is pre-YouTube Sticks at the time. And so I was sitting there sweating bullets, but apparently I was coherent enough so they wanted me to help oversee this process. Now, the bureaucratic part comes in when we quickly realized, oh, it's still 5 council members to 4 non-council members, in basically what amounts to, at some point we're just going to hold a vote on who gets to be the next principal. So I think at that point realized, well, it's a little unfortunate. I was idealistic enough to think, well, maybe we can prevail upon them. The person that they ended up choosing, I can't get into any personal details. I've literally under legal contract on this. I had to sign paperwork in order to actually do this. But the person that ended up getting chosen was not the person that I wanted to be chosen. I thought jury was still out. We hadn't even talked to everybody. But the individual chosen, I liked her. Like, she was personable, she was kind, and a lot of people seemed to get along with her. So I had it wasn't a huge problem, but I saw that they were running roughshod over the students and teachers in the situation. So sometimes it's an administrative problem. There's an additional story about who they chose as principal. You know, because at the time I held out and I was like, well, we're doing this already, and I think I didn't even show up for the last meeting because it's like, what's the point? Because they're going to vote on it and get who they want. I believe, and this was publicly reported on, so I can actually say this, the principal apparently showed up drunk for a remembrance ceremony for a dead student. Yeah, and proceeded to cry and ramble about how great the student was, oh, I'm so sorry and stuff. And then left, resigned. And that was a few years after. I won't use her name. You know, you can look it up, it was in the papers. But yeah, I was involved with that process and saw firsthand that it's bureaucratic as well. So it's not just like the teachers have problems. Some of it is they're being strangulated by these councils that run the schools. They probably should get rid of the administrative structure. Shouldn't it just be the principal makes decisions in accordance with some basic rudimentary guide to rules and stuff? Like, schools are fucked up anyway. And don't think, just because I was good at doing my coursework, and just because I understand, being educated is a good thing, you know, it's not like, oh, just fucking skip school and go smoke weed or something, man, it's so cool. Well, no, not really, but some schools are kind of messed up, you know, let's admit it. Rules can be arbitrary. Dress codes are just retarded. Honestly, I don't even think they should institute them. And you got to realize these teachers are being paid by the taxpayers. We're paying them to educate our kids. When they go on strike and say, well, we're not doing any educating for the next 2 weeks, oh, it's basically screw you. It's basically a slap in the face of the taxpayers and all their kids. And it doesn't make it cost less. There's still the school's still getting money pumped into it, and our schools already cost a lot. And then we have to deal with constant strikes. What we should say is, okay, go on strike. We'll just hire temporary individuals. Maybe they'll be better. You know, it's to the point in this state. We can't even fire people who do a shitty job at teaching. We can't even fire people for being constantly delinquent in this state, like because of the unions and how powerful they are. I think that's a problem too. I have a little bit of difficulty with the idea that teachers should even be unionized. They should have representatives. But I mean, come on, you're not being abused if you're a Vermont teacher. I'm sorry, you're just not. Have you seen the way schools look in other parts of the country? Have you gone to like the Tampa area down in Florida, maybe southern Texas, seen what schools are like down there with the class size, how much people get paid, what they get reimbursed at? Oh, you've got a cushy lifestyle, comparatively. You're doing just fine. Maybe you should think about that a little bit before you go on strike. And of course, once part of the union says, well, we want to go on strike, all the other teachers, even if they're like, well, no, I don't see a problem, they're like, well, I'm going to get fucked if I don't. I'm going to get screwed if I don't strike. I better go stand around behind the picket line or something to keep up appearances. Otherwise, these socialists basically will try to harass me about, oh, you sellout, you weren't picketing for, increased wages. Like, you need more wage. You get plenty of money if you're a Vermont teacher. Hell, fucking substitute teachers in this state do well. Substitute teachers do fine in this state. Oh yeah, I made a couple $100 teaching a couple classes today. I just sat there and watched a movie. It was so difficult. That's sort of the way that it works. I thought about signing up for that in the past. I was like, well, if I just got like, if I go back get like an associate's degree in anything. They'll let me be a substitute teacher, and I can just sit there in my leather jacket, put on a movie, and, you know, rake in the bucks for a couple days' work every week. You know, that was before I started doing what I'm doing now, but I thought about it at the time. Also thought about mortuary science. Thinking bombing would be funny. That's about all. Peace out.